Hopefully everyone is awesome and well wherever you are. Stay safe. Bit of a shout out to the Sydneyites. Thinking of you in the lockdown. Stay well. Look after yourself. Keep yourself engaged. And if you need any help, reach out. Always happy to provide some assistance, gang. Good morning to the regulars. Morning, Alison. Morning, James. A few people jumping on. A little bit later today. Get the day started. Tesh, good morning, mate. Awesome to see you. Dean, as always, with the fresh cup of coffee. There we go. Oh, morning, Jay. There's Andrew. Morning, Jay. Hope you're well, mate. Ania. Good to see you guys. It's all warming up here on the lives, and people are jumping on. So welcome back to the morning chat. Luke's got a pretty interesting perspective. I wouldn't doubt that, actually, Luke. I wouldn't doubt that at all. It's an interesting one. We'll have a bit of a yarn about that today. G'day, Jeff. Good to see you, mate. James is there too. Thanks, Pratesh. Yeah, and it's a moving topic, this topic, the interest rates. Interesting conversation, so we'll dive into that in a minute. But if anyone's new, if you've got any newbies here, anyone stumbling across the lives or the page or whatever, give us a shout out. Most of the videos go out in a few platforms, YouTube and Facebook groups and Facebook pages, and good to have always a new listener or two dropping by. So if you're there, give us a shout out in the chat, gang, in the chat. So yeah, I wanted to talk about interest rates and more potentially about the strategy in and around what are you doing now that if interest rates were to go up in the future or things were to change, what are you doing to take care of your property portfolio? Because we all need to know that, low interest rates won't last forever. And I put an asterisk on that one, because when we look around the world, we look around in different places like Japan, places like Germany, have had really low interest rates for a long time. And, that's something to observe and be aware of. I don't think that we're going to go to, low interest rates for a decade or 15 years like Japan. But, I could be wrong. I've been wrong many times. But my point today about our discussion, or maybe a quick wealth coffee chat, is what are we doing now as property investors? What are we doing to make sure we, take care of our property portfolio and make sure our property portfolio in the future is kind of like a really healthy chipmunk, a little fat chipmunk, squirreling away maybe an extra $1 or two for that rainy day. I hope I'm wrong too, Pratesh. Absolutely. Morning, Sharon. Morning, Shay, my love. So yeah, what are we doing? As part of our strategy right now, how is it working? What are we up to? So let's dive into it. Let's have a bit of a chat and draw some pictures, as I like to do when it comes to our strategy, our process. Get sort of a bit tactical this morning. Oh, wow, there we go. All the way from Margaret River. Good spot, Margaret River. My wife is from Western Australia, WA. I met her over there many years ago when we were just kids. And a good spot. I remember it fondly in Western Australia. There you go. Morning, Rodney. Good to see you, mate. So let's talk about this. Let's have a chat about what's going on when we have our properties and what are we doing with our properties now while we're really, let's face it, gang. Let's face it. This is kind of, well, for me anyway, for some of you guys, it might be totally new to you and you might think this is normal. But, the marketplace, the cost of money has never been this cheap in Australia's history, like in history. And, this is, it's an interesting time. The cash flows, if you buy well, you understand your numbers are quite good, are quite positive. For many of us, our cash flow is probably better than, if you've been investing for many years, probably better than it's been for quite a while. If your interest rates are low, if you've relocked your rates in, if you're in some of the places that have had interest, that have had rent rises, you should be in a very cash flow positive position. So let's take a look at your property. Let's take a look at a property, whatever that might be. Regularly, what normally happens, you guys know this, you usually have a loan on that property, whatever that might be. All right, whatever that might be. If that's 80% or 90%. Now that line's probably a bit low there. In reality, I'll move that up. So 80 or 90%, whatever that might be, for a loan to value ratio. Okay, and then let's say you purchase that property for $550,000, and let's say you get a $550 a week rent. Okay. Now, that's fairly normal. That's fairly, easy to achieve in the market right now. And depending on where you're buying, depending on what you're trying to buy, maybe you have to pay a little bit more for a better location. Maybe you're paying a bit less for less quality location. I wouldn't be buying less quality locations. You guys know my position on that one. But let's say we buy a property. We've got investment. You've got investment already. It's in the range 500 to 600. It's getting a 4.5-5% rental yield. We're happy about what that might be. Your interest rate, should be anywhere from sort of, 2.5 to 3.5% at the moment. And that should be producing a positive cash flow for you. Positive cash flow for you as a property investor. All right. And so if you're not sitting in that position right now, and I'm talking positive cash flow, your rent's coming in, cover the interest cost of the property. And then we've got to take out the expenses. The expenses are things like insurances, rates, body corporate if you've got an apartment or a townhouse, et cetera, et cetera. And there should be some cash flow. It should be either neutral cash-wise or, $1,000 to $5,000 positive cash flow pre-tax. And then you will get some money back. You will get money back, gang, if it's new with depreciation. So most of these properties should be anywhere from sort of positive 3K to maybe up to positive 7, 8K. All right. That's what it should look like after tax right now. After tax. That's what we're looking at. Right. So if that's what's going on right now, what do we need to think about as investors as we go along? Let's say that this property here is going to track along. This is year 0. Actually, I'll put that up a little bit. We've got, right, this one here, we've got year 0 over here. And let's say we've got call it 15 over there, but we'll have a little look. And there's Kevin all the way from Florida. Hey, mate, how are you? Good to see you. So we've got 0 year and we've got 15 years. All right. And so if you have a look at your property, what are we going to do over the next 5, 10, 15 years? What do we need to have in place when it comes to keeping that property safe, keeping us less stressed about changes in interest rates, and planning for the future? What are the things that we need to make sure we put in place or start to have a look at when it comes to this stuff? Number one, we need to have a buffer in place, okay? A buffer is an emergency amount of capital or money that we can use, which is very liquidity. And I might talk about liquidity a bit later on. I might do that as a coffee chat. What is liquidity? Means the buffer, the money you have allocated to this property for its safety buffer is instant, okay? Instant. Yep, building a buffer, dead right, Jeff. So it's instant. Now, depending on how conservative you are, I say a minimum of 5K up to 10K per property as an instant emergency buffer as we're going along. Hey, good morning, Ashley. However, as we're going, we might increase that buffer, okay, depending on what we're up to. The second one, renovation or improvement for the future. Gang, okay, now this is the thing. Now, the renovation or improvement can come from, see this positive cash flow here. We can continue, let's say over 10 years, we put 5K of that positive cash flow in a buffer or on top of our buffer. That's 50K for a renovation or improvement out of the cash flow of that property, out of the tax back of that property team. Just check this out, right? So you're depreciating the property. The money that you get from the tax man goes back into your buffer. It saves up for, Sam talks about it all the time. Every sort of 8 to 12 years, you should be improving your property, spend, 20, 30 grand on, stuff. And he's talked about this a bunch of times. $5 grand a year out of your extra positive cash flow goes into the kitty, sits in the offset account in there, in your home loan. It's the best place for it, not against the investment. And in 10 years' time, you've got a 50K budget that you can renovate the property. Now, you reinvest the tax money that you got back for depreciation. You fix up the property, and now you get more depreciation on the property. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy as you go along, as you maintain, as you improve your properties. And when you renovate that property, the rents go up. Yes, that's what's good about this, right? So we renovate that property and the rents go up, gang, as we have a look at it. And number 3, which is part of today's conversation, is interest rate rises. Okay, let's say this. Let's say right now you've got a low interest rate of 2.5%. What does the cash flow on your property look like? Go and run it now. Do some scenarios. What does the cash flow on your property, what does it look like? What does it look like at 4.5%, gang? Not 2.5, but 4.5. Go run the numbers. Go run the scenario and tell me what it looks like. Now, for some of you, that might turn your positive cash flow property into a negative cash flow property. Now, it's don't freak out about it, because what will happen is usually over 1 to 2 years. Let's go back here. If your interest rates go up from 2.5 to 4.5, we usually have a 1 to 2 year window that happens that the rents will go up also. Okay, that happens. You go and have a look at history every single time. Rents are slower to go up than interest rates, okay? Gang, make sure you understand that. Rents go up slower than interest rates. So you need to have now, on top of your buffer, because your buffer is for emergencies. The stove broke. Something went wrong because the insurance companies don't pay until later. So you have to fix it out of your own money, and then you get the money back. Okay? Everyone following along? Okay, your buffer is for emergency maintenance and fixing. Your extra cash flow, your positive cash flow now self-funds future renovations and improvement to improve your cash flow and your tax back, right? Everyone's listening? And if you're worried about interest rate rises, go and do a cash flow analysis on where you might think. I think it will go to 4 to 5%. That if it was to go, and probably in about 4 to 5 years' time. Okay, so out into the future. What does that look like? Okay, that looks like before the rents go back up and level things out. That looks like a negative cash flow of $5,000 for the year. All right, let's squirrel that aside. Let's make sure you've got 5K put aside for a potential rent rise, an interest rate rise So you wait while you're waiting. While you wait for the rents to go up, you've got yourself covered. Okay? There you go. There you go, gang. Hopefully it makes sense because, right now, it's fantastic. We've got low interest rates. It's wonderful. But listen, put some aside. Winter does come around. The seasons do go in and out, up and down, round and round. Okay? And you always, put a buck or two aside. Now, it's just always there. It's an emergency fund. And you, depending on how conservative you are, depending on how much access to equity you have, depending on how much access to good cash flow for your job and your business, gang, most of you, most of you were affected in one way, shape, or form by COVID. If you don't have income, if you don't have a job, you can't offset your tax deductions. You can't get depreciation back because you're paying no tax. Gang, it's so you got to put a bit aside every now and then, all right? So hopefully that makes sense today. Just wanted you guys to think about that. The buffer is for emergencies as you go. And absolutely, Alison, it goes towards, as you build that buffer up, if you've got newer properties, and that's a good point to remember, Alison, as you build that buffer up, which might be in now the renovation or improvement buffer, that can go towards another property. So if you're very quick at building that buffer, over and above the buffer, you can buy a second property. Now that can accelerate and that can help you get more tax back and get more cash flow. Okay. So, as you do it, like Alison said, have a chat to your coach and, tweak what you have to do. Okay. As we look at it, you need to make sure you keep an eye on what's going on. And yeah, things like going to QCAT or, your tenant didn't pay the bill or something went wrong. You got to have some emergency funds that is liquid, that are associated to that property, so it doesn't come out of your everyday pay packet, okay? Because if it comes out of your pay packet, then you get the shits with the property and you go, oh, this property investing doesn't work. No, your strategy is rubbish. You haven't got a coach and you're not following the process. All right, that's probably a bit harsh, but sometimes the truth is harsh, right? If you follow what you should, you have your buffer, you've got a good coach, you get some support, the properties do what they do. There's always going to be challenges with anything you do, and real estate is no different, all right? There you go, a little bit of a rant for the moment as we go. But Dane's saying, noticed APRA released a document, preparedness for zero interest rates. Yeah, listen, it's possible, Dane, absolutely possible. Never been there in Australia's history, so we'll see what happens. If you want to do some, research, and Andy and I talk about this on Wine and Wisdom all the time, Japan, Germany, there are a number of countries in the world on very low or no interest rates for a very long time. And so, that's an interesting thing to consider as we go along, but we might touch on that one on Friday, Wine and Wisdom, gang. So if you're up for it, let us know. But, for the moment, just remember, your property over a 10 to 15 year period, you should structure your real estate so it 100% doesn't come out of your pocket. It pays for itself. Okay? Now, every property should be structured in a way it pays for its own ownership. It pays for its own emergencies. It pays for its own improvements for the future, okay? And that's how you structure your portfolio to make sure you don't get under stress or pressure, and you have to take money out of your own pocket. Anyway, hopefully that makes sense. All right. Shay, I think, are we having a buffet or a buffer. Yes, a good buffet. I like a seafood buffet, Shays. Yes, indeed. Yeah, back in the olden days when Shay and I, Shay lost her job. I didn't have a job. We had a property, and it was quite stressful back in the olden days. Been there, done that. Don't want to do it again. Could tell you guys a few stories that might curl your toes, but thankfully, it seems that it was my destiny, job, whatever it is, to go and experience lots of things that you shouldn't do, and then let you know about those things, and so hopefully you don't do them. Anyway, that's it. We're 20 minutes. That's a long coffee chat today. Hopefully it was useful. You guys have an awesome day. Join me tomorrow for another Wealth Coffee Chat around about 8 o'clock, usually about 8:05 now. It's just that sequence I've got in the mornings. Takes a little bit to get myself going, but between 8 and 8:05, usually get going, and we have a bit of a yarn, just a topical chat about what's going on during the day. All right, gang. Oh, yeah, here we go. Ania said, can we do a talk about renovations? Absolutely, for sure. Yep, no, that's a good one. I'll put that one on the list. Ania, what I might do is I might bring Sam in on that one. He's just done it just recently, which is great. And learning from others, absolutely, Pratesh. It's good if you can do it, if you can find out what others have or haven't done. We can certainly take some lessons from all of it, that's for sure. Robin, you will certainly hear lots of noise when interest rates are potentially rising. Because right now there is lots of noise about interest rates in New Zealand rising. Okay, so there you go. It's an interesting observation to watch one of our neighbours, our economic neighbours, who have a similar situation going on, but have had it going on for about 3 or 4 years to what we're experiencing right now with our property and our market growth. Yeah, interesting to sort of see as we go along. So, all right, gang. Wealth Coffee Chat done for the day. You guys have an awesome rest of your day. Join me tomorrow for Wealth Coffee Chat in the morning and Wine and Wisdom in the afternoon. Double whammy, where Sam and I, or Andy and I, dive deeper, and I might grab Sam for the afternoon. Yeah, Jeff, actually, you're dead right. That's a good one. So many different things to talk about. Fixed rates, when the banks are putting fixed rates up, so they are already hedging that they're going to try to have to cover their costs, because their cost of money, where they buy it, looks like it might go up as well. So there you go, gang. All interesting things out there. But the gist of it is, what we must do as property investors, we don't control any of it. We don't control it, so we must manage and control and strategize the things that we have influence on. You have influence on how you, where you put your money, what you do with it. Don't spend it. Keep some more, blah, blah, blah. Like, have the plan, get the strategy, get the coaching, get supported. Be clear about what you do. Don't lose sight. Don't give up, etc., etc., etc. There you go. Anyway, Alison locked her rates in for 4 years. Good work, especially if it's a nice low rate. You'll be happy with that one. All right, gang. I'll stop talking now. There's just way too much to talk about, and if I keep going, it'll go forever. All right, that's it. Wealth Coffee Chat done. See you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.